my opportunity here at FARO, the unicorn that most marketers are looking for. But I think maybe what makes it the unicorn is the senior executive team had already come to the conclusion that our cost of sales was too high as compared with our competitors. And that there has to be a more effective way to market and sell. Mm-hmm. And then that's when they decided to, obviously have this shift or drive this shift, this business transformation in their go-to-market strategy. So I just happened to come here after that realization happened.
When we were talking about this yesterday, and this has come up several times in the last couple of weeks, that I think that unicorn scenario is starting to become more and more the norm, and I think that's a huge opportunity for top executives. There are a lot of companies out there like a FARO that very successful global, multi-billion-dollar market share. They're doing something right, or they wouldn't be where they're at. And I think the light has finally come on that this internet thing's not a fad. Digital marketing has in fact actually transformed the buying cycle and all of that kind of stuff. And so I think it was one of the reasons, as we were looking for a topic of this panel, that I feel like this is really timely to a lot of marketing leaders who are coming in. And it's always careful what you wish for. If you come into the unicorn and you're given everything you ask for, well, then you're expected to deliver, and it's a tall order.
Right. In a very compressed time frame.
Yeah, we're going to get into the scope of this thing. It's insane, and what we're working on together, and insane in a good way. The level of top to bottom transformation that we see going on and are helping you with there at FARO. You had talked about in this situation where there really is a mandate and a paradigm shift, you've kind of got two layers that you got to deal with, right? You've got the market itself, things that are happening outside of your four walls, and a repositioning and those kind of scenarios, and then you've got the internal capacity and those kind of things. So talk a little bit in your current scenario, the FARO experience. I know we're very plugged into all the internal transformation, but there's obviously we're doing this for a reason. It's the external marketplace that really matters. So kind of if you could talk through maybe those two pillars as it relates to kind of your current opportunity and the current work ethic going on.
Well, when you think about externally what's happening, I think this is true regardless of the industry that you're in or who you're selling to. This year has been a bit, let's just say unpredictable.
Untypical,
right?
Let's just call it non-typical.
But at a high level, FARO Technologies, we sell 3D measurement, imaging, and realization technology. And we essentially, our core industries are automotive, aerospace, construction, and public safety. And when you think about three of those in particular, those are probably the hardest hit industries in terms of the economic shutdown globally, right? And when you take that into consideration, this big part of who we're targeting or manufacturers or organizations that largely came to a standstill, and globally in many cases, even if the businesses continued to run, the individuals that we tend to reach out to and engage, those that are either our user buyers or the ones that make the economic decisions to purchase what it is we sell, they used to depend heavily on face-to-face meetings and demos. They would view, the traditional trade shows and conferences as their primary source of information for potential providers. And that shift, that massive shift online, all the pandemic did was just accelerate this slow burning trend, and it happened overnight. And so we were already working to reposition FARO in the minds and the hearts of our buyers, but doing so at a time where the way what they wanted to hear from us and where they wanted to meet us totally shifted under us overnight.
Yeah.
And so we've been, just like every other marketer, managing through that. What's great about being a 3D visualization company is we were able to pivot very quickly with virtual events. But it did mean that, we did have to stop and start, and every plan that we had was completely leveled. And so that's been the challenge that we've been managing through, just like every other marketer. Internally, what's interesting, and that second scenario, the unicorn scenario, that doesn't mean that our CEO said we want marketing to change. It meant our collective business was transforming.
Yeah.
So how does marketing change when it never operated in a vacuum to begin with, when every other functional group is also changing? If you listen to our earnings calls in February and again over the summer, every single functional group within FARO is transforming, to execute on this new business strategy. So how does marketing continue to support the core business through a pandemic and, build these new capabilities to support this new business strategy, all while product and sales and service and finance and IT, all while those groups are also transforming? It's been an interesting year for sure.
Well, you just said something that kind of was an aha. Again, maybe hopefully one of the nuggets out of this conversation that could be of value to somebody watching it is, like the unicorn situation, which I think more and more is happening across every industry. There really is a glass is half full dynamic that came out of the pandemic, in that what's the adage, or as a marketer, this, you can motivate more people out of fear typically than out of greed or out of desire for something better. And so it's one thing when there's this grand charter and vision, and there's going to be this future state that we all believe is going to be better, and that's great. That opens up doors. But it's quite another when all of a sudden, the bread and butter of what's feeding your sales organization gets taken away. Well, then, if you're if you're a marketing leader and you're in that scenario, then you can kind of use that as a catalyst to just, quickly accelerate and do much more concurrently than maybe, a company would have had the risk tolerance or when I say risk, just the patience, to go through such dramatic top to bottom changes concurrently, because you still got, you still got earnings reports, you still got, they don't care, they want to know, are you hitting your numbers, are you making the money, kind of thing. And so, it
was definitely, again, it's hard to say that there's been any silver lining to it, but as a marketer, when you come into an organization, and I think many of us struggle with this, where there's an over-reliance on, let's say, trade shows or conferences, or even just individual tactics, feeling like we need this ad, we need this email. If you find yourself in that situation, then one day an individual tactic is not going to be the thing that works, or you can't meet face-to-face, not at a trade show or conference, or even schedule face-to-face sales appointments. It does immediately expose a complete lack of emphasis on this always-on digital engine. And for us, it did lift some of the stakeholdering that I would have had to do over a very long period of time to change the minds collectively internally. That it took that away. It was immediately like, oh, well, we literally can't do those things. And we did see competitively our two of our three top competitors immediately threw all their money in online marketing, but they weren't necessarily doing what we were doing, which could create the competitive advantage of we're not just increasing spend in a different way. We want to be very smart about how we convert that spend into pipeline and revenue growth.